Hey guys, here is my continuation of my favorite Christmas movies. Now I'm going to talk about a more recent movie, and that is The Polar Express, which is a computer animated movie starring Tom Hanks, mostly, with a few other people. But, God, the way I said that sounds horrible, like I'm insulting all those other people, like I don't care about the other actors. But, this is a movie based on a book by the same guy who wrote the Jumanji book. I cannot remember his name. But in this story, this is about a boy who's kind of in between that, kid years and becoming a teenager and not, and like, so that he is starting to question. Like, it's so much easier to believe when you're a little kid. It's so easy to believe in the magic of Christmas and Santa Claus. But, you get to a teenager and all of a sudden logic and reason start getting in the way. And you have a hard time believing. So he's at that kind of in that place where he wants to continue to believe. But there's all these things, all these questions that he has. And a lot of doubt in his mind. So on Christmas Eve, a mysterious train shows up at his house called the Polar Express. And the conductor offers him the chance to get on the train and go to the North Pole and meet Santa, and then he or one of the other kids will receive the very first gift of Christmas. And of course, our boy is the boy is a bit skeptical, and he meets, but he gets on the train because he wants to know. He still wants to believe, like I said. He meets some other kids on there. One kid who's like a total know-it-all and thinks he knows everything, and all he cares about is the presents he's gonna get. Very nerdy type of kid. And then you have this girl who, she's very sweet and kind of been of a leader and is not afraid and 100% believes. And then he meets this little boy who they pick up, he's a bit shy, quiet, doesn't look like he has a lot of money. He looks like his house is kind of run down looking in the middle of nowhere. And his thing is Christmas doesn't ever work out for him. And of course each one of these kids is gonna learn a lesson, learn something. So, these kids make the journey. They, cross a giant lake, while the boy is on the train trying to, he almost loses the girl's ticket, so he tries to return it to her, and while trying to get to the girl and give her back her ticket, he runs into a hobo that hitches a ride on the train, but he doesn't believe in Santa and the magic and everything, is all the self-doubt, and he's very cynical essentially, and is questioning the boy and asking him, do you believe? And there is they see wild animals, they get hot chocolate while they're riding the train, and all this adventurous stuff kind of happens, like, and it's a very until eventually they get to the North Pole and meet Santa. This is such another very touching Christmas movie. First, I love the music in this one. It's not a musical like A Christmas Carol, the musical like I mentioned in the last video, but it's still a musical. Like, there's a song during the hot chocolate scene. And there's a scene between the boy, the girl, and the other boy that they picked up. How they're, talking about the magic of Christmas and the wondrous things that happen around this time of year. And it's one of my favorite songs next to Josh Groban's song at the end, When You Believe, I think it's called, or something like that. Which, it's Josh Groban, and his voice is, like, dreamy and beautiful, and just, gives you the tingles every time you hear Josh Groban sing. It's such a touching, and the animation is really cool. It looks very lifelike. like I said, it's computer generated, and again, it's mostly consists of Tom Hanks does a lot of the characters. Like he plays, the conductor, the hobo, the boy's father, the narrator of the boy as an adult, and he plays the voice of Santa too. And it's such a great movie. It's so beautiful. It makes makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And who wouldn't want to ride a train to the North Pole and get hot chocolate and stuff like that? It looks like that'd be a fun thing to do. And I wonder if somewhere they have like a model of the Polar Express train, or like I think it would be cool if I don't know who if it's a Disney movie or but I think it would be cool if Disney has the rights to the movie, if they made during Christmas time. Now I've never been to Disney World or Disneyland, but Disneyland is all in California, and I live closer to Florida, so I don't know if Disney World has ever done this, but I mean maybe they have. I think it would be cool if they had like a roller coaster, like whether it's a kiddie coaster or somewhere in between for kids and adults, where a roller coaster that was the Polar Express, and you went through like you did some of a lot of the things that they do in the movie. I think that would be a really fun roller coaster. But anyway, it's such a heartwarming movie, and it also and of course deals with the theme of believing, having faith in something, which a lot of Christmas movies do, especially when it comes to like the ones that focus on Santa Claus, and how the whole world has become much more cynical now, and how all people care about is by the more the other aspects, the more negative aspects, which is everyone's running to the store and buying gifts, and for some reason, even though this is supposed to be the happiest time of the year, everyone's so rude to each other because they're tired, because they're planning for family gatherings and Christmas parties and trying to buy gifts for their kids, and planning for a family to be staying at their house, and it's just, and there's traffic, and it's not the most, and people are just cranky and stuff. I mean, it's really bad if you work, or if you're one of those people who works in retail, and technically my work in a grocery store is considered retail, so we have to deal with that a little bit. Lucky for me, most of the people that live in this town, as I've said in other venues, this was originally a retirement community, so there's a lot of older people, and yes, older people tend to get cranky too, but mostly the customers that come into the store are very polite and nice. I mean, you gotta wonder though, you gotta wonder that if some of the rude people are not from the South, because I feel like it is true that down South people are a little bit nicer, and generally speaking, not everybody, it's still a stereotype, so I'm not saying everybody, but I feel like it's one of the stereotypes that you could kind of see it as being true. And so it's one of those things that people that on Christmas movies they constantly explore all the time. And this one does look at it a little bit, like with that one boy, the nerdy kid who's all, just cares about what presents he's gonna get. He doesn't, and he doesn't appreciate, he doesn't appreciate the individual gifts. He just wants to know how many he's gonna get. And you have this one boy who actually really appreciates that he's gonna get a gift at all. Because the one who's like, Christmas doesn't usually work out for me, he gets a gift from Santa. And that really makes him happy. It's just the one gift. And then, so it's definitely is a good message. It reminds us to appreciate what we have and appreciate the true meaning of Christmas. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I do like receiving gifts on Christmas, because especially, some of the gifts that I ask for are really expensive. Not that I ask for anything really big. I mean, I don't ask for like a car or I never ask for a bike or, but, the things I ask for do add up a little bit. like whether it's DVD or CD or a book. You know, it does kind of add up a little bit. Or clothes. Which even that, I don't always ask for that often. Okay, so next movie I'm going to talk about is another, let me look at my list. Okay, well, I guess I will talk about another one about Santa, and that is Miracle on 34th Street. Not the original, but the remake, starring Mara Wilson, Richard Attenborough. Is her name Elizabeth Perkins? I don't know. Maybe that's her name. I don't know. I'm talking about the actress who plays the mom. I think the actress's name is Elizabeth Perkins, but maybe not. I don't know. So you have this woman, Doreen. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what her name exactly is. She runs the Kohl's department store. Not our Kohl's. It just happens to have the same name. Kohl's department store. And the current Santa, who she is the one who kind of runs the parade and everything. And the current Santa is a drunk, and they included this in the original movie, a drunk and a bum. So, and when this older gentleman is trying to explain to him how he should be a Santa, she decides to fire the other guy and hire this other man, Kris Kringle, actually. His name is Kris Kringle. To play Santa in the parade, and then eventually after the parade, she has him sign a contract to be part of to be the department store Santa, because he is really good. He does really good at the playing Santa. And immediately Doreen and her daughter Susan are intrigued by this older gentleman, by this guy Kris, and as well as their friend who has feelings for Dory, Brian. And the problem, though, is that Susan has been raised to not believe in things like Santa Claus and magic, and she's only like 6 or 8 or something, and to be a more sensible, practical person. But she sounds like a 30-year-old woman, even though she's still a child, a little kid, because her mom, Dory, has, like, the world has made her cynical and bitter, especially with Susan's father leaving them, abandoning them. So she's very, like, she decides to protect herself, and she teaches students to be that way as well. And of course, Brian does not. He loves Dory and loves Susan, and he doesn't want Susan to grow up like this. He doesn't want her to be a mini adult too soon. He wants her to be a kid, to believe in magic and wonder and all that, and not to be cynical just yet. And he introduces Susan to Kris, but of course Dory does not like this because she thinks that it would be a bad influence on her daughter. And Susan is starting to become intrigued by Kris, and even starts questioning her mom. Is it like, maybe there really is a Santa Claus? And she makes a deal with this gentleman. She's like, if you really are Santa Claus, you can get me these 3 things: a house, a baby brother, and a dad. And then if you are Santa Claus, then you should be able to get me these 3 things for Christmas. And that will be her proof that he's Santa Claus. But of course, the other plot of this movie, of this story, is that the competing company realizes that that Kohl's hiring the Santa is a good marketing tool and has helped improve the sales of the Kohl's company. Especially when especially when Kris recommends, if we don't have the toy you're looking for here, or if it's too expensive for you here, then we will send you somewhere else. And that ends up being an actually good good way to sell things, because then, it is like, oh wow, that is so, considerate of you guys, and you actually are thinking about us and realize that some of your prices are too high, or you might not have everything. So you're trying to help us out by sending us somewhere else. And we will still shop here because of that, because you are considering us as your customers. So these the people who work for the boss that own the competing store track down the guy that they hired before, the guy that originally was Santa, the drunk guy, and make a deal with him. They persuade him to provoke provoke Chris, trying to get him somehow fired. And so he shows up when Chris is playing Santa at the store, and he's pointing out to the kids that this guy is really a fake. He's not the real Santa, and the kids, and that kind of upsets Chris and everything. And then at late night after work, he continues to kind of push his button a little bit, and then finally Chris gets really angry and almost strikes him with his cane. But the guy makes it look like he actually hit him. So this results in Chris being put up for evaluation as for being mentally unstable. He ends up in a mental hospital. And Brian, who is a lawyer, decides he's going to help Chris win his case and be proven to be Santa Claus. So that, there's a whole courtroom drama and everything, and goes to elaborate measures to prove Chris is Santa and that he's not crazy. He even brings in a reindeer. It's a Christmas classic. You gotta watch it, whether it's you watch the original or the one that came out in 1994. This is such a great movie. My only thing is that the original, when I watched it, I come to realize that it's not, there are a lot of, the movie is definitely, you can tell the movie is dated. Some older movies, that they're not always, they look dated, but they're not that bad. But there are things about the movie, like Brian, who I think has a different name in the original movie, he just happened to be a new neighbor that Dory and Susan met, and that the housekeeper just happened to let Susan go over there to watch the parade from his window. So they're not even dating yet. They just met him. I mean, probably they've known him for a little while, but still, it's a little weird. Like, at least there's a history established between Dory and Doreen, or I'm sorry, I don't know her name. And Brian in the remake. Like, they've been friends for a long time. They kind of hint at it, in that I think that they dated once before. So it doesn't feel, I can't help but feel in the original that it's like, okay, they don't know this guy that well, and she's letting her little girl go over there at his house. What if the guy turns out to be crazy? He turns out to be a pervert or something. Of course, maybe it's my cynical, more modern brain talking, but. And also, like, there is a character in the original that's not in the remake. He's a janitor, and he's kind of the catalyst for what leads to the conflict. The whole him and Chris ending up in a mental hospital because a psychologist, the janitor is this happy-go-lucky guy, and the psychologist gives him a diagnosis and basically says that he's a little crazy. He needs a little help. So Chris is, who has become friends with the janitor, does not like this. So he approaches the psychologist that works for the store and is like telling him how to be a psychologist, and he's not a very good psychologist. And he does kind of whack him on the head with his cane. And the psychologist guy does not like him. He doesn't like Chris. And he ends up, and he pretends that Chris caused more damage than bonking him on the head with his cane than he really did. And that's how Chris ends up in the mental hospital, because it makes it seem like he's violent and crazy. And already, one of the other differences is that Dory is like, she also is a little questioning in if this guy is sane or not, a little bit. But of course, her boss is like, this guy is doing really, really helping our store, so we're not going to get rid of him. But then, of course, when this incident with the psychologist happens, he fails his exam because he's one of the things that Chris is trying to do is when he meets Susan and Dory, he's trying to convince them to believe in him again, to believe, not be so cynical, and to believe the spirit of Christmas. And so he feels like he failed at that, and that's why he ends up failing his psych evaluation and ends up in the hospital. Because he actually is a very sane person, and he knows a lot. It's just that people are like, you believe you're Santa Claus? What's wrong with you? There's no such thing as Santa Claus. You're insane. You know, it's the world's mentality, apparently. Because someone believes in Santa Claus. And it's a very beautiful movie. It's a very beautiful message. And it talks about how it's not just about the fact that Santa, the physical manifestation of Santa, of this man, this figure, it's about the idea of what he represents, the symbolism that he represents, about the spirit of giving to others and loving others. That's what Santa is about. He's not just some whimsical figure who wears a charming suit, as he says in the movie. He's a symbol for good, the good in humanity. And it's very hard. I love the little monologue he gives to when he's talking to Dory, because she's preparing him for a commercial that he's going to do to advertise the store. Or he's going to be on Good Morning America or something. And he talks to her about what the true meaning, he gives her the speech about. He's not just some charming old guy in a suit. He's so much more than that. And it's definitely a beautiful Christmas movie. I recommend. Like I said, the other movie is good too. Like, one of the other things that bothers me about the original is that the acting, I feel like, is very stiff and very formal. So I feel like it's not, there's more of an emotional core in the remake. Now, if you love the original, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or debate with anyone about it. If you love the original, that's great. If the original is the one you grew up with, or you just happen to prefer that one over the remake, then that's great. I just prefer the remake that came out in the 90s. It's the one I grew up with. So those are my next two Christmas movies. I'm going to talk about two more. One of them is not just one movie, but 3 movies, but I'm combining into a franchise. And like I said in the last one, if you want to share your favorite Christmas movies in this one, then feel free to do it. And I hope you are having a wonderful holiday, whether you celebrate Christmas or another holiday, or don't celebrate anything around this time of year. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you Hey!
Hi!
Hope you are enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!